It began on a night no different than any other, yet one that would change the course of two strangers' lives forever. Rain poured down in relentless sheets, drumming against the empty streets of the city. The air was heavy, soaked with the scent of wet asphalt and loneliness. Neon signs flickered against the storm, and footsteps echoed faintly as a young woman hurried along the sidewalk. Her name was Elena. She clutched her thin jacket around her body, but the cold seeped through anyway, biting her skin and her spirit. She had nowhere left to go that night. The last bus had long since departed, and the shelters were either full or unsafe. Hunger gnawed at her stomach, but the greater hunger was for a place to rest, even if just for a few hours. That was when she saw him. Michael was standing outside a quiet corner cafe, its doors locked and lights dimmed. He had stayed behind after closing, lingering with the restlessness of someone who couldn't yet face the solitude of his apartment. When he saw her, drenched, shivering, her eyes wide with exhaustion, something in his chest tightened. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice carrying over the rain. She hesitated, unsure if she should answer. Life had taught her caution. Yet his tone wasn't threatening. It was warm, concerned. She swallowed, "I need somewhere to stay. Just for tonight." The words hung between them like fragile glass. He studied her for a moment, then nodded slowly. "I don't have much to offer. Just a bed, that's all." Her eyes darted up to his, trying to read the truth in them. She saw no shadows of cruelty, only sincerity. And so, with weary steps, she followed him. Michael's apartment was small, tucked away on the second floor of an aging building. The walls were lined with bookshelves, and the faint smell of coffee lingered in the air. He handed her a towel and gestured toward the bathroom. "You can warm up," he said quietly. "I'll get you something dry." When she emerged, wrapped in a borrowed sweater that hung loosely on her, she looked younger, more fragile than before. He had prepared a cup of tea and set it on the table. She sipped it slowly, the warmth spreading through her body. For the first time in weeks, she felt safe. He showed her to the bedroom. "You can sleep here. I'll take the couch." Her lips parted slightly. "You don't have to." "No," he interrupted gently. "I promised you just a bed. That's what you'll have." But as the night deepened, as the storm raged outside, Elena lay awake. The silence of the room pressed on her chest. She turned, restless, haunted by memories of all the nights she had slept in fear, of all the hands that had reached for her without kindness. And then she thought of the man in the next room, offering her safety without demand. Something inside her cracked. She rose, padded softly down the hallway, and paused at the sight of him on the couch. He wasn't asleep. He was staring at the ceiling, lost in thought. When he noticed her, his brows lifted in surprise. "Can't sleep?" he asked. She shook her head, her voice trembling. "I'm not used to quiet." He shifted, making room beside him. "Then sit. We don't have to talk." She did, and for a while, silence stretched between them, this time, not suffocating but gentle. She leaned her head on his shoulder, almost unconsciously. He tensed, then slowly relaxed. Heat, that was the first thing she felt. Not the heat of the storm outside, but the warmth of another human being, steady and unyielding. It seeped into her bones, melted the ice she carried within. She hadn't realized how hungry she was, not just for food, but for this. For closeness. For touch that wasn't cruel, for arms that weren't chains but shelter. Hunger curled inside her, fierce and aching, and in his arms, she found it. The next morning, when the rain had subsided and dawn spilled across the city, Elena woke in the crook of his arm. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then memory returned, but with it, no fear. Only warmth. She sat up, her heart pounding. He stirred awake, blinking at her. "You're still here." She hesitated, "I don't know where else to go." His gaze softened. "Then stay. As long as you need." It wasn't just a bed anymore. It wasn't just shelter. Slowly, without either of them realizing it, it became home. Days turned into weeks. Michael would leave for work in the morning, always leaving something for her to eat. Elena began tidying the place, cooking small meals with whatever was in the pantry. They fell into a rhythm, quiet but comforting. At night, they would talk. About books, about music, about the scars they carried. He told her about the parents he had lost too soon, the loneliness that haunted him even in a crowd. She told him about the roads she had traveled, the betrayals she had endured, the dreams she thought had died. One evening, as they sat with the window open, watching the city lights flicker, she whispered, "Why did you help me that night?" He thought for a long moment. Because you looked like you needed someone to keep a promise. Even if it was just for a bed. Her chest ached with something deeper than gratitude. And then, without planning it, without words, they leaned into each other. The kiss was soft, tentative, like two souls testing the idea of belonging. From that night on, there was no more couch, no more separate spaces. There was only them, heat, hunger, home, dash dash dash. Their story wasn't without struggle. Trust wasn't built overnight. Elena would sometimes wake in the middle of the night, panic rising, memories clawing at her. Michael would hold her, whispering that she was safe, that she was no longer alone. And he, too, found his healing in her. For every meal she cooked, every smile she dared to let slip, she filled the emptiness inside him. She gave his loneliness a name, a reason, a cure. They became each other's anchor. Not because they had planned it, but because life had pushed them together on a stormy night, and they had chosen to stay. Dash dash dash. So when people asked them years later, how did you two meet? They would laugh softly, exchange a look, and answer. He promised just a bed. But I found everything I was looking for in his arms. Dash dash dash. This was their story. A story of strangers becoming home. A story of how sometimes, the smallest promises open the door to the greatest loves. And maybe, just maybe, it's a reminder for us all, sometimes home isn't a place. Sometimes, it's a person. Thank you for watching Story Sporut, where every tale carries a heartbeat. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that touch the soul.